How's it going, everyone? As always, thank you for being here and God bless you. It's not quite week 2 of the tank cycle process. However, I did run into my first obstacle and I'd like to share what it is with you and how I'm working through it. So the obstacle that I hit was ick. And kind of the backstory on this was I was looking for a magnificent fox-faced rabbitfish for a while. Nobody really had them, and the stores that did have them wanted upwards of $250 for one, which is way more than what they actually cost. So I just kind of bided my time and I said, what the heck, let me walk into my local fish store and see what they have just right downtown. Now this pet store is not a very nice one. It's kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things. The tanks are not the best, etc., etc. So I walked in and this guy was in a small, probably 20, 30 gallon long tank, whatever it was. And I said, you know, this is crazy. There's no way this is happening. And they only wanted $75 for him. So we kind of helped each other out. I gave the fish a much better home, giving him the attention, food, and husbandry that he needs, and he helped my pocketbook out by only being $75. So it worked out for both of us. However, the unfortunate part of this was that fish had been in that system at that pet store for several months. He's malnourished, and he did show signs of disease, which was the ick. Brought him home. I treated the ick for a couple of days, put him in the tank. Everything seemed to be okay. Well, then a handful of days later, I noticed, yep, he does have ick, it looks like. So now traditionally, you're supposed to quarantine your fish, put them in a separate hospital tank, and then treat with, say, like a copper-based product specifically for ick. That's why I'm saying a copper-based product. If they have other parasites, of course, use other things, but we're just talking about ick. So a copper-based product for a couple of weeks, and then make sure that your main display remains fishless for 6 to 8 weeks, so the parasite that's living inside of the tank in the sand bed dies off. That's the accepted way to do it. That's apparently the appropriate way to do it. I'm going to do it a little bit differently for a couple of reasons. Well, number one, I have nothing else in this tank, so boom, there's my quarantine tank. Now, I know what some of you are saying. Well, you got to worry about the sand and the rock. The parasite will live inside of there and then hatch and then reinfect the fish. Yes, that's true. So what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm not going to be using a copper-based product because copper will leach into my sand, into my rock. And if you guys didn't know this, copper is extremely toxic to invertebrates and corals. Now, if you use copper-based medications in your tank, you would completely have to remove all your coral, you'd have to remove all your sensitive inverts, etc., etc. Then after that, you would have to actually do several water changes to get the copper out of the system. Otherwise, it's going to leach and hurt things. So rather than go through all of that, I'm doing hyposalinity. So instead of my salinity being between, I'd say 1.022, 1.024, I'm actually bringing it down to 1.09. Now I'm doing that in conjunction with the ICX. It's just a standard ick treatment for marine aquariums. Let me get my hydrometer out here just to make sure that I'm telling you guys the proper salinity. Excuse me, 1.019. 1.019. So it's just right below that red safe zone of 1.020. So 1.019 is still safe for the fish, but it wouldn't really be very safe for maybe some sensitive inverts or some corals. Since I have nothing in the tank, I'm going to be fine. The fish is going to be fine. Now the hyposalinity should kill the parasites that are encapsulated in that shell or egg or whatever you want to call it as they're kind of going through their reproductive cycle there before they hatch. So the hyposalinity should kill them in that state, and then the ICX in conjunction with the hyposalinity will kill the ick on the fish. That's my plan. That's what I'm hoping for. And that's kind of where I'm going. So if it works, I'll let you guys know. If it doesn't work, I'll also let you know. But the only other thing that's really going on is if you can notice in the video, my tank water is not very clear anymore. Reason being is, well, I'm treating with medication and I took my carbon filters out, so I have no carbon running on this tank. So, I mean, if you have a tank that either doesn't have carbon or has carbon and you haven't changed it or you're in the process of changing it, you know how fast the water kind of mucks up when you don't have that carbon running. It's pretty unfortunate, but it happens. So once I'm done treating with the medication, I can put carbon back on the tank and everything will be nice and clear again. I still don't have any brown sand or diatoms. I know it's kind of hard to tell with the blues on the light here. Let me see if I can bring the lighting up just a little bit. So everything still looks really good, no nuisance algae. I am using that 0 TDS water, so there's no phosphates in it, so I shouldn't get algae. I actually called the local fish store. That's actually not the local one. It's the one a little bit further from me that actually has some pretty good stuff in it, and they actually take care of their systems. I called them and I said, I don't have diatoms or anything, and it's almost week 2. Is that normal? Because I've never seen that before. And they said, yeah, you don't always have to have diatoms. People that get diatoms, there might be a little more stuff in the water that they're using. People that don't get diatoms, maybe they're using cleaner water. But that's not to say that I won't get diatoms. They also told me that I still could actually develop them, but if I don't develop them, just make sure the ammonia and the nitrate is 0, and you're going to be just fine. You don't actually have to develop diatoms. So I was just a little concerned that I was having some new tank syndrome that was kind of hiding, and I didn't want to, after I was done treating, add stuff to the tank, and then all of a sudden I get a bunch of diatoms everywhere because my tank wasn't appropriately cycled. So I just wanted to make sure, so far as I know, everything is going well, besides the ick. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, and if, like I said, if this works, I'll be definitely sharing it with you guys so you can do the same treatments. All right, guys, take care.